SIBN Radio. And you have just tuned in to the Keynon Lake Show. I'm your host, Keynon Lake. I am a published author, book My Daddy Taught Me That, a public speaker, and the president of a men's development youth program. The purpose of this show is to create awareness on topics that are dear to my heart, primarily absent fathers, male role models in the home, youth and young adults and children, families, and neglect and abuse. I not only want to shine a light on these topics and create awareness on these topics, I want to educate, inform, encourage, and motivate. So please join us on the Keynon Lake Show. For more information about the Keynon Lake Show, give us a call, 415-967-2346. And we thank you for listening to SIBN Radio.
All right, Mr. Keynon Lake, how are you?
I am doing wonderful, Coach. How about yourself today?
Hey, I'm doing real good, man. I am excited about this special. Sorry that we couldn't get you on video. We're still working out the kinks. But, man, tell everybody about the show and what's to come in the future, man. This is the Keynon Lake Show, man.
Oh, man, we got a lot lined up for the future, Coach. In fact, today is a really, really special day for me and my youth and my kids. My daddy taught me that men's development program that I had. We actually went camping this weekend. That was the first camping trip that I was able to do with my young men, and they absolutely loved it. You know, we just got back today around a little bit after 5 o'clock. We left and we were actually in the woods camping two full days. And once again, they loved it, you know, and it was great because I took 10 kids with me. We had a guide who led us, and none of the kids have ever been camping, myself included. I've never been camping either, but it was just an opportunity to give these kids another thing to add to the repertoire, something that they've never done before, being able to give them options and just introduce and expose them to different things. So I'm really excited about it, and more so than not, I was excited about the great time that the kids had. I mean, I was when we were walking around packing camp, getting ready to leave today, you know, I overheard conversations, and because real quick, Coach, I'm gonna get off the subject a little bit, but real quick, because you know, we had to hike 3 miles into the camping site that we were doing, so we had to hike 3 miles with, you know, like 40-pound backpacks. Mm-hmm. So this was hard. So, you know, when we first got there, the kids were like, I ain't never doing this again. I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. This is crazy. This is that. You know, when the trip was over, every one of the children all said, you know, what a wonderful time they had, and they loved it. You know, several kids said, you know, we don't want to leave. We want to stay out here. You know, so it was just amazing. It was a really, really amazing thing, and I was so happy that they had a wonderful time.
Well, first of all, we want to let everybody know that you're the author of My Daddy Taught Me. You can go to www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com for more information about your book and My Daddy Taught Me That young men's program. But we are normally on Blog Talk Radio and Spreaker as well as 415-96radio.com. But we wanted to offer everybody a chance to see you and meet you. So we're going to be working out some technological issues going forward. But that is why we're on Spreecast today. And Keynon, we just want to say again to everybody, welcome. Keynon is from Asheville, North Carolina, author, activist, social worker there. And we are excited about you being on the SIBN network. We've done several shows, so if people want a specific show, they can go over to Blog Talk Radio and type in the Keynon Lake Show, or they can go to our website, whatever, what have you. Keynon, let's talk about what's on the board or what's on your mind for today, man. What's on your mind today?
Well, today, Coach, I want to talk about parents. And, you know, today's topic, today's introduction to the show, or title for the show, is basically, are parents being parents or being their children's and child's friends? Mm-hmm.
Claire was just talking about that today. Claire, we were talking about that on our show today.
And I want to, you know, and this is the thing, Coach. It's a couple of things that I want to bring to the forefront and address today. And this one is, again, talk about this topic, you know, parents being their children's friends or being parents. You know what I do, Coach. I'm a social worker. You know, that's what I've been doing 10 years of my my life.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, over the last year, I've been dealing with young men in my men's development program and parents and this, that, and the third. So, for a large part of my life, even before social work and even before my program, I was helping my dad out with some of his camps and clinics and working with families and stuff as well. So I'm 36 years old. So I would say, for about 15 years of my life, I've been working with families, youth, and children. And the thing that I see more so than not, and we talk about this all the time on our shows, Coach, that how times have changed and how, things were different. Like I mentioned in a prior show, how, when we did things wrong and, stuff like that, you didn't have to worry about my parents, but I had to worry about my grandparents or, the people who knew my parents along the way home. Like, I know your daddy, you're going to get it. I know your mother, you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I know your grandmother, so those were the type of things that I was used to being raised around. I was used to being raised around a community, not only my mother and my father
Mm-hmm.
who were there, but a community who knew things and who would not allow you to get away with things.
Mm-hmm.
But today, what I'm seeing, all across the board, and this is a thing, this is not a black thing, but what I'm seeing all across the board are parents who are just so concerned about being their child's friend, being their children's friend, and not offending the child, or even to the tune where they are afraid of disciplining their child or talking to their child, as and they don't want to do it, so they want to either offend the child, hurt the child's feelings, or the child be mad at them. So they sacrifice being parents to be their child's friend.
Right.
And I don't understand that. That's not the type of parenting that I know and that I'm used to.
Well, you got to keep in mind that these are young folks who really perhaps in the years that perhaps it mattered, did not were in certain areas and didn't understand the weight and the gravity of what, as you have always said in every show, the responsibility of a parent, the weight of responsibilities. So I kind of think this is a very immature approach versus our parents be a bit more, I dare say, seasoned. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. And I actually kind of agree with that, Coach. But this is the thing, too. A lot of, and honestly, I think the young parents, like you said, they're not as seasoned, perhaps. There are great parents out there, young, who do wonderful jobs. So, I don't think there's too much of an excuse. But the thing that I see too, Coach, a lot of the parents who are, my age, 30 in their 30s, and and like for example, give you a quick example. Teenage young man, saying he's a teenager. He's a pretty good kid, but he's a teenager. He does things and makes mistakes, and just what teenagers do.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of his parents chastising him, instead of his parents, telling him, no, you can't do this, or holding him accountable for his actions, which is something that I totally preach in my program.
Mm-hmm.
Holding these kids accountable for their actions and making sure that they are responsible for the decisions that they make. The parents just kind of push it under the rug and let them get, he'll be okay, and
right.
He's gonna do better, and it's like these are parents who are older parents. They actually have had have a older child, and it's not that the fact that they're too old, like okay, well they've had their kid and this kid, they're in their 50s or 60s and they don't want to take the time, or this is the baby. It's not none of that. It's like parenting to me seems like it's changing.
Right. Well, it is. I mean, you've been saying that, and for those of you that have not been listening to the Keynon Lake Show, that airs every Sunday, normally at 4 o'clock. This is a special, but we've been saying that all the shows, Keynon, and I think that you're taking a Google called radio on the internet, and you're trying to shout out loud, "Wake up!" Okay,
right.
Because you will not, as a parent, be able to have the respect, honor, and dignity as the child grows older, by all means, if you are not taking your job as a parent seriously. So these are the things that you have been raising, but I think sometimes it hits the boiling pot. But we got several factors we got to consider. Number one, in our culture today, Keynon, we don't have what our parents had for us. We do not have a community that speaks the same language. And Keynon, this is what your radio show and your book is all about. It's about finding a common language of values and ethics that brings the family unit to a level of responsibility and accountability. And it, excuse the language, but it pisses us off as communities, you as a social worker, myself as a broadcaster. It kind of ticks us off, another word that I didn't really plan to use today, because you see these kids actually wasting by the roadside, and we're having to rescue them, and they have able-bodied parents, able-bodied vehicles, living in, everybody ain't living in the hood, if I could just go, okay, nice homes, and I mean,
exactly.
And so to your point, what do you do as a broadcaster, yourself as social activist, when you have full-body folk, up and going folk, educated folk, let the kids do their thing without any facilitation and accountability? Keynon, it just boils our blood. I mean,
and Coach, you know what? You made a valid point. You know, like you said, you know, these you talked about the educated people and the people, but even, and you mentioned the hood, but it doesn't matter. I mean, and I want to jump to, Coach, and this is something that really, you talked about, you know, ticking us off and getting our blood to boil. This is something that's been on my mind for a while now, but it's something that needs to be addressed. And I feel like if we don't address it, the end of it will never come. You know, we'll keep dealing with it. So, you know, I'm gonna take the stand to address this current concern and problem that I've been dealing with. And I'm gonna start off with the example. Mm-hmm. And actually, in fact, you know what? I'm gonna do a couple of examples. But before I give my examples, Coach, do we need to take a break for commercials?
Yeah, let's take a small break, and then we'll be right back. Everybody, you're listening to the sound of Keynon, the Keynon Lake Show with Keynon Lake, a son of the infamous Benny Lake, activist, community social worker, as well as basketball player, sports enthusiast. We miss him. Keynon, I know you miss him. I know you want to plug that book again and why you wrote it, because they need to know the legacy. There's more than just the show. There's a whole legacy here with this young man that's on the phone, Keynon Lake. We'll be right back in just a few moments. Keynon, stand by.
We trust you are enjoying the show. Stay right there. We'll be right back after these messages.
We interrupt this program to simply say thank you for your listenership here on SIBN Radio. We do not take what you're giving to us for granted. By means, we invite you to be a part of our family in a deeper way. You can visit our websites, www.sibntelevision.com. You'll see a community page there, and you can join free of charge with your email and share your thoughts, pictures, and so much more right there on the site. And for those of you that would like to listen more regularly to our blog programming, you can visit www.sibnradio-by-selectusatv.com. We're now looking for interns for the SIBN networks, and there is no shortage of work that needs to be done. Simply email us your bio or resume to globalcoverage@selectusatv.info. New programming is always a consideration here at the networks, and we invite you to share your ideas, concepts, or vision. As we move with a global multimedia platform, we expect great things. We now want to return you to your regularly scheduled program. And again, from our hearts to yours, thank you.
All right, we're back here with the Keynon Lake Show. Keynon, I think that you have some good steps, man, but go ahead on with that thought that you were going to share before we left. You had a couple of examples.
Exactly, Coach. And one of the things, like I said, too, or just a minute ago, you know, I feel like if we don't do these things, then the inevitable will keep repeating, the cycle will keep repeating itself. Mm-hmm. But these examples that I'm about to, you know, just talk about, you know, there are things that honestly are really pet peeves of mine, and it really, you know, really boils my blood as well. The first thing is this. Parents understand, and parents need to understand, that children retain so much, even at young ages. You know, parents always say, well, they're 1 year old, they're 2 years old, they're not going to remember this. You know, it's okay for me to smoke a blunt in front of my child, roll weed and smoke weed and blunts and stuff like this and marijuana in front of my children. They're young. They're not going to remember this. Or, they see me doing this. They're not going to do it. And more times than not, and I've said this 100 times, and I'm going to continue to say it, what our youth see their parents and their care providers doing, they will do it more times than not. They will follow you. They will mimic the things that you do more than the things that you say. And that really bothers me, Coach, when I see parents, who have have 3 or 4 kids around, or, neighborhood kids in the home as well. Mm-hmm. And, it'll be a group of parents in a room smoking weed and marijuana, and the kids are sitting right there. And it's like, really? Mm-hmm. And this goes back to, the generational differences in our parents. Mm-hmm. I said this before, and I'll say this again, my grandparents, my parents, they could have been the biggest drug users on the face of the earth. I would have never knew. Right. Because they had that much interest for me as their son, as their child. They never introduced me that type of world, and they never allowed me to see them and subject me to seeing them doing that as well. Right. And it's like, I don't understand why parents these days feel like it's not a big deal. Oh, marijuana grows from the earth. Marijuana, no, it's a drug. It's wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, and even with alcohol, you see parents and care for, all in children's face drinking and getting intoxicated, and it's like your child is going to remember this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But even more in depth, Coach. The other example was this, and I'm gonna let you elaborate here in just a second. Mm-hmm. I'm in and out, and this now once again I always say that the things that I talk about are not, there's not a black thing, it's not a white thing. This is a parent thing. This is a human thing. This is a society thing. But this right here refers to our people, because I see this so much. I'm in and out of the hood, so-called, so to speak, daily. Okay. In one facet or another, I'm in the hood, around my people. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I don't understand, Coach, and this happened. I can count. I don't have enough fingers to count. More than 10 occasions, mm-hmm. where there'll be a fight that will break out. Okay, there'll be a fight that'll be going on in the hood. Instead of parents saying, "No, y'all stay away from that. Y'all don't go down there. Y'all stay y'all butt around here and don't." The parents are running towards the fight, carrying their children, their 2-year-old children in the arms, and mm-hmm. Dragging the babies to the fight. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but the thing about it, Coach, what also bothers me is these are not children fighting. These are not teenager kids fighting or young kids fighting. These are adults mm-hmm. fighting. Where adults are dragging the babies to the fight. Mm-hmm. And it's like, are you serious? Like, and I just don't. Maybe it's me, but I really get heated about it because I just don't understand that mentality. It's like, okay, instead of dragging your children to the fight, how about you're not going to go around there? And I would appreciate it if the rest of y'all didn't go around there, because this is not what we're supposed to be doing. How about y'all stay in the house? Maybe I can, if I know these people, maybe I can go put it into the fight, mm-hmm. and somebody break the fight up so the rest of the kids won't see the fight.
Right.
So these are the things that I don't understand, and it really does bother me, because it's like nobody stands up for right, but everybody wants to be involved with the wrong thing.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, let's go through a couple of steps. If you're listening and you're those parents that's your child's best friend, it's nearly impossible unless the child has already matured academically, as far as his career, emotionally, psychosocially, psychosexually, and on and on and on. If that person, that child, that son or daughter has not matured, it is nearly impossible for it to be a proper relationship between child and parent. The parent must be the authority that facilitates the development, so that the development is not arrested or impeded. Number
That's
two,
exactly right.
Number two, Keynon. So if there's a parent listening, we are advocating that parents be parents. And as we've said before, parenting is a boatload of work. We don't feel it. We don't see it all the time. Our schedules, we can create schedules that prohibit it, because all of our wants and our needs to have X, Y, and Z. You and I can both go on these topics. We're advocating that if those that are listening or someone that you know that is being friends instead of being a parent, we're saying a prayer, but we're advocating parents stand up, because you're gonna get old, you're gonna become a senior one day. Let me tell you know what I'm saying, Keynon? And you're gonna want that child to be respectful towards you in your senior season years.
That's exactly right.
And you know, I'm just saying. I mean, so that's first we're advocating, and then give us some practical steps. Give us some practical steps, because you are in the trenches every single day, Keynon.
Well, one of the things I can say, Coach, and this is a practical step too, and this will be something along those lines. If you know, like you said, Coach, parenting is a very hard job. So first of all, I commend all parents, single parents, you know, parents who have, you know, both part in the home, mom and dad, and even care providers who are raising children and helping out in that facet. I commend all. Mm-hmm. It's a very difficult job. There's no handbook that's been written to say this is the perfect steps to be parent. You know, so with that being said, I commend you. But the thing is this, Coach, and we see this across the board, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. In our senior years and your senior years, as a parent, I can tell you now, if you don't parent your children and be parents to them, there's not going to be any respect down the road. There may not be any respect now.
Oh, just thinking that.
and that's one of the biggest keys. You know, it's like, you know, I've heard parents, Coach, across the board, you know what, I'm allowing my children to drink and smoke in the house because at least I know if they're smoking and drinking here, they're not out there doing it. What kind of sense does that make? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to let my child drink and smoke in the house because I'd rather for them to do it here than for the no. I wasn't raised that way. Right. The way I was raised is over my dead day, if you don't smoke and drink in this house, right. And if you think about doing it and you can't abide by rules, you need to find somewhere else to go.
Well, I mean,
so it's like,
that's what the book is about. I want to pause you right there and say, listen, if somebody's listening to this, what you're saying, if they want to be able to know how to get back on track, Keynon, they got to go to www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com because your daddy taught you these things.
That's exactly right. I was blessed, Coach, and you asked me to give give an example and also some light to the book. Let me explain a little bit about me real quick for the viewers and the listeners on stress. Again, my name is Keynon Lake. I was born in Robin Lake. I'm here in National North Carolina. I was truly blessed because I had two loving parents. You know, I came from a two-party household, so I was truly blessed to have my mom and my dad who loved me and took very good care of me, taught me a lot of things. The reason why I wrote the book was because being a social worker, a child protective service social worker, I visited countless homes, in and out of countless homes for years where I saw nothing but moms. And it bothered me because I had great parents. Both mom and dad were great, but I had a great father. I had a really great father who took me under his wing, and we were like best friends. So, Coach, to be able to have the father that I had and know that there are so many children. For example, a statistical fact, I use this all the time. This is one of my favorite stats. It's in my book. This was a stat. This was a stat actually done in 2011. It's actually gotten worse now. But the stat is 13.7 million families in America, 84% are single moms. So what that tells us is out of 10 of our youth, about 8.5 of our youth are being raised by a single mom. So I wrote the book to try to enlighten, educate, and inform men on what's happening in our families. And if we don't step up and be better fathers, better husbands, better providers for our families, we're going to be in a world of trouble. The way that I was raised, Coach, was that family is the foundation of this country. And if we continue to have broken homes and broken families, then we're doomed. So that's why I wrote the book.
Well, one practical step that a listener could do to take right here and right now is to go to www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com and consider ordering the book either from there or fill out contact information from there or go to Amazon. Is that not correct? And type in "My Daddy Taught Me That." However the case may be, before we lose track of time, make sure you give them the phone number and an email so that someone who would listen to this on the demand menu would want practical steps on how to do better, because we all are struggling to do better as parents. Give them some contact information real quick, Keynon.
Okay, Coach. My contact information is you can follow me on Facebook at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Excuse me, yeah, Facebook, My Daddy Taught Me That. That's my fan page. Also, I have another fan page, which is the Keynon Lake Show. That's on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at the KL Show. Also, to the website, Coach gave the website several times, but it's www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com. And the phone number is area code 828-582-2261.
Phone number one more time.
The phone number again, Coach, is area code 828-582-2261.
Listen, we are all struggling, whether we like it or not. And, you know, I was watching a commercial, and it said on there, we are all connected. We are all connected. If you're listening to me and your children are doing whatever they want to do, the taxpayers in your district, in your region, in your municipality will pick up the tab. When they go to jail, when they get a DUI ticket, I mean, I can go on and on and on, and I won't. But the practical side of this is this. We're all struggling to do better jobs as parents. And particularly men, as Keynon has said 1,000 times and will say it 1,000 more times. Men, young men, children, do not have all the answers, but we must step up and be willing to almost die for this thing. I mean, not die foolishly, but die trying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the practical steps is first, if you need help, by all means, get the book. Contact the coach, because Keynon is a type of a coach. He can coach parents who are young, at crazy schedules, just can't seem to get along. The child's temperament is horrible. And Keynon, real quick before we go to break, let's talk about that for a moment. Let me just bring up that point. One thing that a parent could do that would help them a whole lot is study the temperament of a child and place the child in activities relative to the temperament. Do not leave the child to himself. Do not leave the child to substances in himself. Okay, I need some help right there. And do not leave the child to inappropriate behaviors.
You hit the nail on the head, and we actually talked about this in a prior show, but we'll address it again real quick, Coach. Parents have to understand that children, the main thing that the children want is their time. Now, with this, hustle and bustle type of world that we're living in, the society that we're living in, time is precious. We have parents have jobs, parents have other children that they have to deal with. Mm-hmm, they have their own lives. So, right. It's very, very difficult with this computer society type world that we're living in, and everything is moving 100 an hour, and we have so many things thrown at us. Mm-hmm. But children demand our time, and if we don't, when we talk about ways that we can help fix this thing. Some of the things that we could do, and one of the ways that we could do is, first of all, give children our time. Even if you feel like this child ain't listening to me, or we don't have any kind of connection, or this child doesn't. He or she's a teenager. They're a teenager. They don't want to hear what I got to say or be around me. You'll be surprised. Whether they're 5 years old or they're 15 years old, children demand our time, and they want time. I have a men's development program where I was young men coach, ages 12 through 19. Mm-hmm. You'll be surprised how many of these young men have told me themselves, my mom and dad don't care what I do. They don't. Or my mother, my dad, whoever, they don't care what I do. As long as I'm not in their way, as long as they don't have to deal with me, everything's good. So,
it's bad when the child comes directly out and say that. It's
very bad. So if you're looking for answers, you have to, that's one of the things that you can do. If you just spend time is so important. Other things is what you said, Coach. Pay attention to your children. Mm-hmm. Paying attention to your children, you can miss opportunities to connect with your child.
Listen, children are an investment, plain and simple. You're going to get in you're going to get out what you put in. And we are connected. Whether you like us, your next door neighbor, the ones across the tracks, the ones that living over in Asheville, you don't like the ones living over in the A, you hate the ones living by the coast. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're all connected. When a bill is passed by the state legislature and the House of Representatives or the Congress, it affects everybody. Now, some people have enough resources to hide behind and enough connections to skate by. But I promise you, there's one thing that affects us all: weather. The thing that affects us all: growth. A child may be a child today, watching you smoke weed. They got this new thing about the marijuana mothers over in Beverly Hills, where they say, I feel like a better parent when I smoke weed. Wow. How dumb is that? But there's one thing that we know that is racing against us, and it's called growth. When someone grows up and puts a knot upside your head, or steals your car, or damages your property, or embarrasses you to the utmost, then sometimes a light comes on. Oh my, I didn't know he was capable of that.
I'm so glad you said that. Let me just say this, okay? Like, I just had a parent, and this is the thing, I just had a parent 2 days ago tell me that their 15-year-old son stole $30 this was a dad, out of his pants pocket, right? He said, my son is 15, and this is what I tell you, this is what I'm going to tell you too. The dad came to me, he said, I don't know what to do with my son. I really don't. He said, I done did this, I done tried that. Mm-hmm. He said, this boy just stole $30 out of my pants, mm-hmm. and when he comes in the door, I'm going to kill him. Mm-hmm. So now, mind you, the dad is 325. He's a big man, okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And his son is not that small. Son is about 6'3", 6'3", but the thing is this, though. The dad literally said he has no idea what to do with this kid. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, like, and I even this is what I thought I'm thinking to myself, like, you don't know what to do with him. But the next thing I said was, there's no way on earth I can have my child living in my home stealing from me. I mean, I don't understand. The foundation wasn't set right from the beginning. And what happens is, and like you just said, when you don't set that foundation right, when these kids become of age, they're going to start knocking you upside the head, telling you what to do, and then you'll be like some of these parents who are afraid to parent their children. Or, some of the things that I've seen, Coach, it's just mind-boggling. I had a mother, Coach, who she was afraid of her son. So what she would do was and this was her philosophy. This was her philosophy. And I even talked to her. And it's like, it bothers me because I work with these young men and parents, and I was working with this young man. He's a good kid, had a lot of potential. And all of our kids have tons of potential. But he was a teenager. But instead of his mother putting his foot down and even putting her foot somewhere where the sun don't shine every now and again, and I said it, mm-hmm. as a social worker, I said it. Mm-hmm. But what she did was, instead of he was in trouble with the law a couple of times and did this and a third. But what she would do was, instead of him having him leave the house, she would smoke weed with her son. Okay. And I'm thinking, but listen to this now. This was about 3 or 4 years ago, Coach. Since that time has happened, this young man has been in jail for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. He has assaulted his mom, mm-hmm. which you just mentioned. He assaulted his mom, and has done a number of other things, which is not something that you want to brag about your child. So these are the steps these are things that can happen, and they can and will happen mm-hmm. if you're not taking care of your business at home as a parent.
Mm-hmm. And they are happening. Are you going to join us? Okay. I had somebody walking through, but they are happening, and Claire and I were talking about on another show that if you are stuck as a parent, try the coaching model, because we all can attest that our children don't listen. We have a culture of people that don't want to listen, people that don't want to slow down. They want to text and drive anyhow. They want to drink and drive. They're just doing whatever they want to do. But listen, if you are stuck and you really want to get a handle or grip on your parenting skills, and you want to try to have some kind of results that matters, Start thinking about your kids as you're coaching them and you're cheering them on. And when they're not making great time and when they're not making the grade, call them into a comment and you challenge them with words that uplift. Now, that's a whole nother show right there, because if you cut the child down and break the child's spirit, the child is going to rebel again. You see, children are soft projects. No matter how hard they appear to be, they're still soft. So if you're just going to call them hard-headed criminal, you just like your dad, that's not going to help your situation. You're going to need to look at it, even if you don't feel like you got it all together, because we all don't feel like we got it all together. We got it all together. Look at your child as one that's running a marathon, as one that's the world's greatest weightlifter, the greatest basketball player of all time, the greatest golfer. Look at your child through an athletic eye. Keynon plays ball. He might can speak to this before we go to break. But look at your child as a soft project, a talent in the making, a diamond in the rough. And then you will be able to see that, listen, you're not going to feel it. You're not going to feel perfect, parent. And for those that getting your groove on and knocking the boots in front of your kids, you need to be ashamed of yourself. Bringing 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 guys up in that house, and three and 4 and 5, 6 girls up in the house, you are teaching that child a dangerous principle. A dangerous principle. Keynon, before we go to break, talk to them about that real quick. Looking at their child.
You brought out some wonderful points. Two of the things that you said, two key words that you said is holding your child accountable and challenging your kids. Okay, these are another. And what we're doing, folks, and all our listeners, we're just trying to give you some educational facts and talk about some things. But Coach, you made a perfect, wonderful assessment right there when you said challenging your child and holding your child accountable. That's one of those are things that I do in my program. In my men's program, the biggest things that I do is hold my kids accountable for their actions and actually try to instill and teach them to make healthy, responsible decisions. So this is one of my phrases when I talk to my young men. If you do something wrong and you get out here and you do something in the world, one of the things we do as men, we man up. We accept our responsibility. If I was man enough to do it, I'm gonna be man enough, to take the responsibility for it. I'm not gonna get out here and do something and then turn around and go behind my mother or hide behind my father or hide behind. I was man enough to do it. I walked the walk. Excuse me, I talked the talk. Now it's time to walk the walk. That's one thing. The other thing, Coach, is this too. One of the things you said is this. When you talked about parents, and that was a show about the parents, having relations in front of the child or inappropriate sexual intercourse in front of the children or inappropriate sexual relationships in front of the child, period. That's another thing that's introducing your child to bad behaviors. Where children are already oversexed. Our children receive sex at school, TV, on the computer, on their video games, from their other peers. I mean, you name it, and sex is thrown in our children, in our face. It's pumped in us daily, multiple times throughout the day, all day. So by you adding on to that is not doing anything but making the problem a little worse, and also giving your kid the encouragement that, okay, this is something that I can do, or it's okay, mommy and daddy does. The thing that I talked about, and I say often, you mentioned it, Coach, and I'll say this 1,000 times. What you teach your children, the values, the morals, the things that you instill and teach to your children are going to be the foundational instruments that are going to be with them for a very, very long time. Unless the child is some kind of way able and strong enough to break those bonds, which is a large percentage. If I want to say something to the tune of 8 out of 10 can't, that's going to be something that's going to be instilled in your child and keep with them for a very long time. What you teach your children or what they'll be, what they see you do, is really what they'll become and they'll do. The apple does not fall far from the tree.
Yes, sir. Yes. Matter of fact, it seems like the apple fall right under the tree. We're going to take a small break. Keynon, stand by. You're listening to the Keynon Lake Show on SIBN Radio, direct from Studio B, Atlanta, Georgia, and Asheville, North Carolina. With it locked right here. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back after this. Now is the time to become a member of www.WeSupportSelectUSATV.com. That's right, the global partnership and membership programs that are on our website is for financial support. For those of you that believe in the vision and the radio programming here at www.WeSupportSelectUSATV.com and also at 415-96radio.com, by all means visit and subscribe today. We appreciate your financial support and your partnership. Visit www.SupportSelectUSATV.com. You're listening to the sounds of SIBN Radio. Find us on Facebook at Select USA TV, Twitter at Select USA TV, and like us anywhere SIBN television and radio is found. Well, we're coming around home plate right about now, and you got to be encouraged. You got to encourage yourself as a parent. You got to pick yourself up. You got to pick yourself up because there's a lot of ailments out here for adults. There's a lot of ailments, things that can hurt you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things that can hurt you right now. Keynon, are we setting ourselves up for more hurt? I mean, I think that the bottom line question is, what kind of future am I going to have in my adult life? Because I realize that some people don't care. The sensationalism of being satisfied in a pleasurable way has numbed us to understand that one day you ain't going to want all this chaos and confusion. You know what I'm saying, Keynon?
Coach, that's another great point. I mean, we have to get out of that mind frame of it's all about me, or what pleases me, what pleasures me. You just said that. And we have to start sacrificing.
Right,
and,
right.
And we have to start living as Christ did. I want to mention that. Christ doesn't want us. He doesn't want us doing the things that we're doing. He doesn't raising our children the way that we're raising our children. Now, don't get it twisted, Coach. We said this 100 times. It's tough being a parent. You may work. And I'm gonna say this. We talked about this in the past too. But for single parents, even two-party homes. It's very difficult. You may work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. So I truly understand the struggles out there. I understand that that it's not a perfect world, and there can't be a perfect system for parenting, and there can't be some kind of handbook that can be made to be a perfect parent. But with that being said, what I can say is that if we're not making efforts and we're not trying, and we're leaving our children to their own demise, and we're allowing television, computers, video games,
right.
Other children to raise and educate and teach our children and teach our kids, we're going to be headed in a world, in a society, in a situation that none of us want to see, none of us want to be in. Because once again, you mentioned it just a minute ago. We're older, and the generation that we're dealing with will be taking care of us one day. So it's up to us to make sure that we can teach them what they can learn from us, can make it better for us in the long run when we're old and when we're too old to do these things ourselves.
Well, that's just the point. You just said it right there. One practical point that you can take away from this program is this. Is a day coming when you're not going to want what you have today. I always say in some of my shows that we produce here on the network that our needs change every 3 to 5 years. And what you want today, what you're willing to put up with today, you may not be willing to put up with that in your late 50s or in your early 60s. God forbid if you don't even make it. Some of y'all, you're 39, you're 32, you're 27, doing all kind of things that could damage your future. You're taking away your choices. You're taking away your liberties. You're taking away your freedoms. You're taking away your chances to be honored in your senior or season, as we said earlier. So I just think that, we want to encourage everybody. I'm encouraged when I Keynon Lake talk, even though my father taught me a lot of values, still iron sharpens iron. And we're passing these values on to the listener. We want you to be encouraged as a parent. We want you to have some fortitude. And let me tell you this. There's one thing I can testify about. It don't feel good to correct your kids. It'll you should take a happy pill in your mind, because it ain't you can't drink enough, you can't smoke enough, you can't party enough to give you enough fortitude and courage to stand there and let child know. To stand there and say, I need to answer for why you did this. And I know the child not going to give an answer because they say, I don't know. But still, you need to call that child in the account. And listen, you're never going to feel good about it. But you, Keynon, I think the point that you're saying today is, listen, if you at least put the seed in the ground of goodness, balance, modesty. I mean, if you're going to smoke, go out in the back porch, wait till midnight when the child is, for real. Come on. If you're going to do this, because you want to be able to have water on a good seed so that when you look back, you'll be able to see, and Keynon sees it in his program. My daddy taught me that young men's program. You'll see little increments of growth in a positive light. The child will begin to appreciate. There may be a few relapse. Then the child will say thank you, or the child will say, well, I'll stay here and help. If you put the work in, Keynon, I need some help right here. If the parent will put the work in the garden of a child, I promise them they will see budding fruit in the next season.
Well, Coach, you hit the nail right on the head. And when we come to the conclusion of the show, it's like with anything else. This is funny to talk about. This is something that I preach to my children. And let me stop saying my children, my young men, in my young men's program, my men's development program. This is something that I teach and talk to them about constantly. Mm-hmm. What put in is what you're gonna get out. Yeah. Nothing in this world, nobody's gonna ever give you anything, right?
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you want to be a basketball player, football player, lawyer, doctor. At some point in this life, you're gonna have to do something, and no matter what you do, no matter what you do in this world, you work at something. You're gonna have to work at something to perfect your craft, no matter what it is that you do.
Right.
So with that being said, what you put in it is what you get out of it, and it's the same thing with our youth and our children. What we put in our kids is what we're gonna get out of them. If we put wholesome, nurturing values, morals, kindness, and more important, love, and we instill love in our children, and we teach them the right ways. When they get out into this world, when they're on their own, they can walk, and you can always lift them up in prayer. But once again, they'll be able to walk in this world, and you'll be able to sleep at night to know that your baby's out there doing something positive, doing something constructive, and not getting into any kind of foolishness or hurting or harming people.
Well, listen, Keynon, you just said another nugget, a solid gold nugget. No spirituality, no depth. Life is composed of what we can see and what we can't see. And you can't control everything, because half of life is what you can't predict, what you don't know, and for some, what they even fear. So without having any spiritual component, now this is not a Christian program, but we just happen to be Christians, okay? Let's just put it on
exactly
like a TIS, okay?
Exactly.
And so, but listen, but if you don't have any kind of spiritual foundation, rock that you can stand on, where that rock, you're a rock there when you get weary, you see what I'm saying? A belief system that is practiced, not where you say one thing and do it. Not where you're pointing the finger and FOMO pointing back at you, but I'm talking about a relationship, particularly for myself, with the Lord. And I practice it differently now, Keynon. I must admit, I practice my relationship as a Christian now by loving my wife, by not falling into temptation. I felt something push me right there. When my child says something, stop. I tell when my child has had a bad day, he has a certain wrinkle in his forehead. I need some help. So, I mean, I don't go to church every time the church doors is open. I got a broadcast station to run. But one thing I do is I try to walk the walk so that I could be able to say when I'm in that ground, you know what? I didn't leave nothing on the court. During the NBA finals of my life, I played in the paint, on the outside perimeter. I sat on the bench and gave my teammates, I need some help. That means your partner, your parent, people that give you good ideas. Kids want that, Keynon. They are eating your program up. They just don't know how to say it all the time. You see what I'm saying? We're coming toward a close, man. Give him a final word, Keynon. The great Keynon Lake, man. My daddy taught me that. Author, activist. He is in the trenches every single day. He sees the hurt, the pain, the write-ups, the police reports, news reports. He sees the homes where able-bodied folk walking around, able to do something different, but won't. Keynon, give them the last word.
Well, what I would say, folks, is this. You know, we have a generation out there that depend on us. And they're ours. You know, once again, and I'm going to say this 1,000 more times, this is not a race thing, folks. Of course, the numbers are more prevalent for us African Americans, but this is a human thing because it's not just it's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. There are children of all races, creeds, and colors out there who are struggling, who are suffering. So as a parent, as a care provider, what I would say is this. Pay attention to your children. If you don't know how to parent, there are avenues, there are ways that you can reach out for help, but the first step comes from you saying you need it. Mm-hmm. It's never too late, okay? I know a lot of times people say, well, this child is 16, or, you know, my child is already set in his or her ways, and they're too old. No, it's not. It's never too late to express how much you love your child as a mom or as a dad or as a care provider, grandma, granddad, whoever you are. Our children need us to show them the way, because what happens is if we don't do it, then they're left to them not only their own demise, but the demise of what society has for them. Yeah. And like I said in other shows, there are plans out there for our youth. They make plans that we see for them, but somebody somewhere has a plan for your child, and in more cases than not, it's going to be exploitation of a child or of your child to benefit them. Right. And not to benefit anything glorious of the Lord or to the progression of that child.
Keynon, we out of time, man. We out of time, man. Give me your Twitter one more time, and then we got to run.
All right, folks, please follow me. The KL Show on Twitter, Facebook fan page, The Keynon Lake Show, also the Facebook face page, My Daddy Taught Me That, or regular Facebook, Keynon Lake. www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Please follow me on what I'm doing. Spread the word, trying to raise some awareness and support. And we thank you so much for tuning in on the Keynon Lake Show.
Man, Keynon, stand by. You've been listening to the sounds of Keynon Lake on the Keynon Lake Show, and we surely appreciate all that Keynon Lake is bringing to the table. Got a song for you guys. Keynon, stand by.
And I'm seeing a lot. I'm trying my best to speak on it without pointing fingers. Let's go. You got the nation listening, but what are you saying? I know you jokers is high, but this ain't cards you playing. Christ be the kick that, no matter how far you made it, just bring some respect or I'm sure it can go how far you take it. I know your car's amazing, but your heart is basic. Designer clothes, but inside your soul is bargain basement. You're soft as Charmin, baby, and hard as Carson Daly. Just talking crazy cause nobody's made you walk it lately. It's easy to be a when ain't no wars popping. You Hollywood thugging and Grammy Award shopping. You don't live in the hood nor visit no more. Stop it. You got your tour popping. You in your Porsche Boxster. You on your porch watching while people out here dying. And you ain't even close enough by 'em to hear the sirens. It's them who buy your records just for a gang of lying. Quit claiming you banging iron, dog. If you a gangster, I am. And who said if you're black, a gangster's the thing to be? These rappers trying to be Scarface, they make believe. Dog, if you over 30, it's time to be realistic. It's no way you should be 37 and still ignorant, still sagging, still banging, and still flagging. You still fake. This generation is still at it. I still be in the hood. It's getting real graphic. That's real blood on the concrete. Them real caskets. I know that ain't your problem, but I made it mine. Not only do I know the truth, but I can make it rhyme. They knew you sell us out. That's why they let you boys in. They keep you eating good long as you feed the hood poison. Got you endorsing they liquor and making blunt raps. From Saints to Cristal, it always was that. They say the government gave us guns, liquor, and crack. But last time I checked, your dealer was black and your killer was black and his money was green. So read between the lines and see what I mean. See, when it comes to the hood, they have no influence. They need a middleman, a real opportunity. One of our own kind is selfish enough to do it. Inject the hood with poison for some lifestyle improvement. That's what these rappers is doing. They selling this crack. It's like the devil is picking one of his weapons. They trying to merge it with rap. We know how they get down. They using our biggest rappers to make you embrace the sound. Maybe I'm tripping, no. Maybe I'm seeing things, and maybe I see some things like a need to change. Yeah. Look, y'all got too much influence to be acting foolish. I don't care if you signed up to be a role model or not. The kids gonna follow you regardless. It come ain't. I mean, you telling them to get money, but you ain't telling them how to do it in a way they won't land them in jail or land them in the grave. And if you did live a troubled lifestyle, whether it was selling crack, pimping, whatever you had to do, bar, you know what I'm saying? I thank God that you made it out. But you telling your story like you the rule. You not the rule, exception to the rule. You the one happy ending out of 1,000 cats that's sitting in jail.
All right, that does it right here for the Keynon Lake Show special. My name is Marcus Lett, a.k.a. The Coach. I trust that you have enjoyed yourself and learned something, because the point of the SIBN television network is to bring you a better lifestyle option, a plate of options. This is your SIBN radio network, your lifestyle improvement station. Until next time, take care of yourself. You've been listening to the Keynon Lake Show special right here on SIBN radio.
But at the same time, if you've been down that wrong path and you see me going down that wrong path, you hated not to tell me to go in the other direction. You feel me? Yeah, man, turn your negative into a struggle.
Thank you for joining us today for the Keynon Lake Show. We know you will be empowered as you consider the content shared by Mr. Keynon Lake, co-host Marcus Select, and our guests. For more information about Mr. Keynon Lake, please visit www.mydaddytaughtmethat, and feel free to email us at lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Books can be ordered from Mr. Lake by calling 828-582-2261. Until next time, you're listening to the Keynon Lake Show on SIBN Radio.